Good morning and good afternoon to all my railway colleagues who are joining me for this virtual webinar on railways. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to listen to how nVent is enabling our OEMs to move into the next gen technology. I am Pradipto Bhowmick. I am working with nVent SCHROFF as the Global Product Manager for Cabinets and also the Product Marketing Manager for Railways. To start with, let us give a small brief as to what nVent does, who we are, for everyone who is not aware of nVent SCHROFF. We are a global company with multiple manufacturing sites all over the world. As you can see on your screen, we have our manufacturing locations in China, Europe, APAC, and IMEA. We have multiple technical sales reps and distributed branches overall. This is especially important for railway OEMs because they are global in nature and they would like to procure products from different segments of the world depending upon price benefits, or even proximity to their engineering teams. Also, the slide that is in front of you gives a good overview of what the nVent SCHROFF offerings are. We are holistically present in the railways market. What that means is maybe onboard, indoor, outdoor freestanding, or internal use. You can contact us and we have an enclosure for all the applications that go in all these spaces. A very important understanding of what nVent does is present on the slide. It provides you a standard enclosure which is designed for railways and it can be modified as per the project requirements. On the right hand side, you would see all the notable certifications that are necessary for railways, maybe EMC, shock and vibe, seismic resistance, or resistance to vandalism, fire protection, ingress protection, etc. We have very robust products in our portfolio which have all the certifications that are needed. However, we're not one of those companies that just manufactures wholesales products. However, we work with OEMs to modify these standard platforms based on the project requirements. And it's not only the products that we sell, we also provide consulting to our OEM partners, providing them thermal modeling, prototyping solutions before they can commission those products in their very important signaling projects. Let us understand what the next gen technology is and what are the brief units of understandings. Cut. Let us now understand what the next gen rail technology is and what are the trends that we see in this market. We see the increasing passengers and freight movement that has exponentially increased in the last few years. We have seen the demand for more availability for rolling stock, and thus the network operators moving into the next gen technologies, which may be train control management system, DCAS, train collision assistance systems. We've seen the increase in GOA4 from GOA1, which is grade of automation 1 to grade of automation 4, and moving towards driverless metros, and finally predictive maintenance as well. We've seen onboard passengers requiring more and more improved quality of travel, and thus higher degree of infotainment and customer connectivity. We've seen a surge in cybersecurity and low carbon footprint as well as a trend, but this was not a topic that we'd be speaking about. We'd be focusing on the first two. We see that the big idea that is driving the trends above is big data. Big data is basically drawing a lot of information, sieving it through and getting information passed on to the operators so that they can make momentous decisions. This is possible because we're moving from the 2G technology, the WiMAX technology, to the 4G and 5G communication systems. We are seeing the onset of the FRMCS, we are currently using GSMR systems, which are a part of the ETCS or ERTMS systems, and we've been moving forward based on the UIC guidelines. We provide retrofitting possibilities. What that means for OEMs is that they don't have to throw away their rolling stock or the existing infrastructure to move to their next gen technology. And this is something that we make possible by enclosing and packaging electronics which allow the rolling stock to move towards the next gen communicating technology of railways. However, allowing that with the lowest amount of investment and low TOCP. And finally, protecting the electronics from electromagnetic interference as well. We see the first topic to be GOA4. The GOA4 allows a huge amount of reduction in energy consumption, up to 45% for the rolling stock operators, increases punctuality based on main line and suburban line up to 23%, and finally, about 50% higher capacity when combined with new communication systems. What that means for a network operator is that he is getting his passengers from A to B more number of times than he could do before, and thus earning more ticket revenue. What you can see on your left-hand side is a forecast of how much GOA tracks would be laid in the forthcoming years. In 2020 to 2030, we see an exponential surge in the number of kilometers that's going to be laid based on GOA4 applications. GOA 1 to GOA 3 is what we have listed out in the sheet below. We see the increase in automation, where it may be based on train operations, driving the train, HVAC, or even in the events of disruption, we see it's not managed by an attendant. However, we're doing it more and more automatic. Train control management system and train collision assistance systems are part of increasing the GOA levels. The grade of automation levels increases as more and more sophisticated electronics is put into the rolling stock on the track side in the control center. What you can see out here is a good understanding of what's put into the rolling stock, may be a good HVAC management, tractor train transmission, what we also call police transmission modules. We can see the driver machine interface and the draw control systems. Have the vehicle control unit on board, which manages the train as it is the brain of the train. It constitutes of the remote input-output module, the RIOM, and the communication control unit, the CCU. We have provided for multiple of these applications the Varsa swing frame rack, which is seated just behind the driver's cabinet. It provides the maximum space utilization for the driver, has the lowest amount of footprint, and allows maximum amount of freeway. However, plug in a huge amount of electronics into the swing frames, and because application, you can use the back panel of the frame as well. The application is based on Varsa, which is a standard portfolio product in our assortment, and it is rail certified, EMC certified, etc. However, we have modified this platform to match the application that was required by one of our OEM customers. Similarly, if in case we are talking about CBDC housings or including the VCU and the CCUs, we generally use the onboard rack. The onboard rack is a stainless steel bolted or welded rack, an open frame which can be assembled in confined spaces, and it can be used for retrofitting under the trains, under the passenger's seat or on the roof. Additionally, what you see on your top left-hand side is a Europack Pro. It's a highly certified, highly rugged enclosure, a sub-rack, which is used generally to plug in the electronics for the VCU and the CCU. It basically is an enclosure for the brain of the train. And finally, what you can see on the right-hand side is a conduction-cooled IP65 integrated PSU for CPCI backplane. This enclosure was used by one of our OEMs to stick it in the bottom of the train outside the body of the train. It was primarily used for track identification or track incident identification. And hence we have provided this very robust solution to our OEM, which can withstand high amounts of shock and vibe, bad weather, and still work reliably to understand when there are modifications or repairs needed in the tracks. Similarly, predictive maintenance is one of the next trends that we see forthcoming. We see the acoustic sensors and the automatic equipment identifiers providing a huge amount of identification for the train as to when and where the predictive maintenance, or rather the maintenance, is needed. Predictive maintenance is built on the understanding that the train should not be stopping in a place to identify the need for maintenance. And hence the acoustic sensor and the automatic equipment identifier provides the identification of whether the wheels are out of round or they're facing more hunting forces or whether there's uneven load distribution. Similarly, we have the camera, which is pole mounted. As you can see, it identifies multiple damages to the screen. It identifies whether the lights are off or if in case we need repairs for the lights, and it also identifies the plate number and the identification of the train. Acoustic sensors are provided by the outdoor modular or the unibody in our portfolio. These have multiple EN and IEC certifications, as you have seen in the previous slides. This is very modular in structure and can be modified based on the customer requirements. Similarly, we have the pole mount structure as well, which can be double doored or single doored based on customer requirements. We can also use the unibody, which is also pole mountable, and we have used it in multiple applications. In this case, it was primarily used as a camera to identify screen damage, light damage, etc. Connectivity for commuting passengers. As we have seen, it is one of the forthcoming trends that has allowed or pushed the network operators to invest heavily into the next-gen technology that makes it possible. In this screen that you see, we see a high-speed rail running at approximately 300 kilometers per hour and a radio tower. The normal radio tower is basically switched by a 300 kilometer per hour running train with every 60 seconds. However, we know that the train in itself is a Faraday's cage. It's a metal body that does not allow these signals to come in. And hence, what we need for the train is generally a repeater. It's a mobile telephony antenna which receives the mobile signals and then floods it into the train so that every customer within or every passenger can use their GSM signals on their phones. Similarly, we are also providing enclosures for servers and access point for Wi-Fi. These basically bundle all the data signals and transmit it inside and outside based on the requirements. We also provide the trackside radio equipment, which is a strong high-performance enclosure that communicates with the enclosures or the electronics in the rolling stock. nVent supports evolution from GSMR to LTR and 5G-M based on signaling and communication applications. In the next page, we would see what the connectivity during travel entails and how nVent is allowing or enabling the OEMs to move in this direction. Obviously, the first bit is the operational efficiency. Connectivity during travel is not just for customers, however, it works in tandem with operations like predictive maintenance and data to support routing and configuration decisions. However, primarily what we see on the left-hand side are passenger applications such as connected navigation, hybridization of travel, safety and security, may it be train control management or human error passenger assist alerts. We also have retail options to buy food, beverages, promotions, and advertising can be provided by magazines, etc. And obviously infotainment, which is the most asked feature, may it be social networking, making video conferences for work, and watching movies and gaming during travel. We see that the interscale is one of the major bits that makes it possible, making one of the most robust and flexible housing for repeaters, servers, and access points for Wi-Fi. Similarly, as the brain of the train, we provide the Europack Pro and the onboard rack. The Europack Pro is an enclosure for the central processing unit for high-speed trains, and also which controls the train as a brain, may it be the police control or the HVAC or brake controls. Similarly, the onboard rack is the computer which is retrofitted to fit in as a CBTC housing. We also have the control room and the shed rack enclosures, which can be IP20 to IP55. It can be non-EMC or EMC, which is generally used as SCADA or interlocking solution. We all have the auto-modular structure, which is used as traveler information system, storage and transfer system. We can also use it as an axle counter, DLX, etc. And finally, we have the unibody and the wall mount, which houses the radio equipment in a strong high-performance enclosure. We have also used it for internal passenger connectivity. nVent ensures uninterrupted connectivity in the most reliable and efficient methods, designing and executing customer-specific blueprints. And mind you, all the products that we provide are rail certified and have the maximum amount of tests done on them. And that covers the complete presentation that I wanted to provide. If in case you have questions, I would be glad to welcome your questions and have a discussion as well. Thank you.